Hope you have had a nice lunch time, and we are ready to resume our work now with the fourth and last panel. Excellency, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, as I told, it is my privilege to welcome again to the resumption of this conference on the question of Jerusalem. I would like to now inaugurate with the last discussion panel. Our fourth plenary session, as you have in the program, will be under the theme of Palestinian rights in East Jerusalem and the international community. This morning we have the privilege of hearing from a pool of experts from the UN and civil society dedicated to the support of Palestinian youth. Was a very important topic. This one that we are going to have right now is as important as it was the one in the morning. Then we have the privilege to hear from experts representing member states and international organizations committed to assistance to East Jerusalem. I remind the speakers that we have some time constraints, then I will ask you to be as concise as possible. This session should finish around 5 o'clock in order to adjourn and then to go to the closing session. But at the same time, I'm sure your presentation will be very substantive and insightful for the discussion that we will allow after those presentations. I once again would like to re-encourage all participants to use the hashtag on the screen above, Right for Palestine, to promote the conference in the social media. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker of the afternoon, Mr. Mohamed Salem Cherkaoui. He is the Director of General Affairs of Bayt Al-Quds Al-Sharif Agency, the Jerusalem Fund of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the committee's partner in organizing this conference. Most importantly, the agency is the implementing body of the Jerusalem Committee of the OIC, chaired by His Majesty King Mohamed VI. In his capacity of director, Mr. Cherkaoui supervised various projects funded by the committee in East Jerusalem. He also held several positions with national human rights bodies. He will present on Morocco's support to East Jerusalem. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Then you have the floor, please.
شكرا جزيلا سيدة الرئيسة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طبعا أود في البداية أن أشكر المنظمين على الدعوة الكريمة، وأقول على أنه من الصعب دائما تناول الكلمات في الجلسات المتأخرة أو الأخيرة، لأن من يسبق من متحدثين ومتحدثات لا شك أنهم أثروا وأثاروا كل القضايا التي نحن مجتمعون بصددها. طبعا أعتقد على أن هذه الجلسة من الصعوبة بمكان، لأنها يتعين أن تقدم أجوبة عملية عن ما يتعين القيام به على الأرض. فكل القرارات التي صدرت وكل التوصيات التي أنتجت على مدار السنين يبدو أنها لم تؤثر قيد أنملة في مسار البحث عن السلام وعن إحقاق الحق وإعادته لأصحابه. ونحن استمعنا منذ أمس على الأقل من السيدات والسادة الخبراء والخبيرات والدبلوماسيين والدبلوماسيات على أن وضعية المراوحة التي نعيشها اليوم لا تخدم أحدا، هكذا يكون شبه إجماع على هذا العنوان. العنوان الآخر هو أن الجميع أو الغالبية يعتقدون على أن حبل التنازلات المنفلت من جهة والمشدود من جهة أخرى لا بد أن تعترضه آلة حادة في مكان ما وفي زمان ما، ويمكن أن تقطع هذا الحبل ولا يعود لدينا ما يمكن أن نتجاذب من خلاله بين الطرفين. ثم يعتقد البعض على أن موقف المنتظم الدولي، وهنا أعني هيئة الأمم المتحدة ومجلس الأمن، يكاد يكون مقلقاً، لأن ذلك قد يرهن مأمورية هذا المنتظم الدولي ويجعله أو يجعل مصداقيته في محك صعب. بالتالي هنا أود أن أفتح قوساً سريعاً، ونحن نعيش أحداث المونديال الروسي وسمعنا اللغط الذي يدور حول تقنية الفار. بضع فرق تعتقد على أنها ظلمت لفائدة فرق أخرى أكثر قوة، والحال على أن هذه التقنية التي أنتجت أصلا لمساعدة الحكام قد تكون مساهمة نوعا ما في إمالة الكفة لجهة دون أخرى. وحين ذاك بدأ التفكير already في ربما تجاوز هذه التقنية. أنا أشتغل في وكالة بيت مال القدس الشريف منذ 10 سنوات، وأتشرف بالاحتكاك يوميا مع إخواني وأخواتي في فلسطين وفي القدس، وأقول لكم ملء القناعة على أننا إزاء شعب وبلد استثنائي. في المغرب أيها السيدات والسادة، أطلقنا منذ ما يزيد على 10 سنوات مساراً طويلاً سميناه مسار الإنصاف والمصالحة لتحقيق مصالحة داخلية والانطلاق للمستقبل. أعتقد أن أشقائنا في فلسطين بوسعهم أيضاً أن ينظروا إلى المستقبل بأمل، ولكن أيضاً أعينهم على واقع الحال، وهذا الواقع أيها السيدات والسادة لا يرتفع، لأن قرارات الشرعية الدولية لم تستطع كما قلت في البداية أن تزيحه أو تزحزحه قيد أنملة. وبالتالي نحن نستطيع، كما أكد على ذلك جلالة الملك في خطابه الافتتاحي أو في رسالته الملكية السامية إلى هذه الدورة الخامسة، نستطيع أن نراهن على اجتماعات متخصصة وعلى مؤتمرات متخصصة، ولكن علينا أيضا بموازاة ذلك أن نشتغل في الميدان لرفض إخواننا وأخواتنا في فلسطين وفي القدس تحديدا بما يمكنهم من مواجهة التحديات التي تفرضها عليهم حياتهم في محيط متحرك مليء بالظلم أحيانا، ومليء أيضا كذلك بالتحديات أحيانا أخرى. في المغرب، إذا كان لي أن أتحدث عن دعم المملكة المغربية للقدس وفلسطين، فإنني سأوجز بأن أذكر بأن ارتباط المغاربة بالمقدسيين تحديدا يعود إلى أكثر من 800 عام، وأن صلاتنا الروحية وارتباطنا العاطفي البشري أكثر عمقا وأكثر قربا من صلاتنا الحدودية، حتى وإن لم تكن لنا حدود مع الشام ومع فلسطين. وحين ذاك توطدت عرى العلاقات بين المغرب الأقصى وفلسطين لتصبح عرى دم وصلات وقرابة، ومنحوا أي المغاربة ثقة المجاورة من إخوانهم الفلسطينيين، وصاروا جسما واحدا لا ينفصل. هذا الارتباط وهذا التقارب جعلنا نحس بمسؤولية مضاعفة إزاء إخواننا في فلسطين وفي القدس، وهو ما حرك المغفور له الحسن الثاني طيب الله ثراه إلى أن يبادر إلى إنشاء لجنة القدس التابعة لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي. وفي عام 1998 تقرر إحداث وكالة بيت مال القدس الشريف كآلية تمويلية عملية يعهد إليها بتنفيذ مشروعات ملموسة على الأرض، حتى لا نبقى في جو الخطابات والمؤتمرات والتوصيات على أهميتها. اليوم نحن في المغرب نعتقد أننا أكثر قرباً إلى إخواننا المقدسيين، سواء عن طريق باب المغاربة أو عن طريق زاوية المغاربة التي تأسست على دمار حارة المغاربة، أو من خلال البيت المغربي الذي يجري الآن إعداده وتأهيله ليصبح مركزاً ثقافياً مغربياً في ممر الآلام على بعد خطوات من المسجد الأقصى المبارك. المملكة المغربية اليوم هي حضرات السيدات والسادة تمول ما يزيد على 85% من التمويلات الموجهة لوكالة بيت مال القدس الشريف، والوكالة تنجز مشروعات منتظمة بوتيرة منتظمة في حدود 2 مليون دولار في القدس، موزعة على مشاريع المساعدة الاجتماعية والصحة والإعمار والتعليم، ثم مساعدة الأشخاص في وضعية صعبة. مع ذلك، إن كان هذا المجهود مقدر من قبل الإخوان في فلسطين ومؤسساتهم، إلا أنه يبقى دون طموحاتنا. فالقدس في حاجة اليوم إلى 20,000 وحدة سكنية في المدى المتوسط، وتحتاج إلى بناء 17 مدرسة جديدة بطاقة استيعابية تجاور 506 فصلا دراسيا، وتأهيل 11 مبنى قائم بطاقة استيعابية تفوق 358 مدرسة. تحتاج إلى بناء 20 روضة للأطفال، تحتاج إلى تجهيز الأقسام الاستشفائية المتخصصة في مستشفيات القدس، ثم تحتاج أيضا إلى دعم الأطفال ومخيماتهم وملاعبهم الرياضية ومدارسهم، وأيضا تمكين المرأة وما إلى ذلك من المشاريع. في هذا الإطار نحاول في وكالة بيت مال القدس الشريف قدر الاستطاعة أن نجيب على بعض هذه الأسئلة، وإن كنا نحاول أن ننفذ قدر الاستطاعة إلى ما يهم الناس، إلى ما يساعد على دعم صمود الناس. أنتم تعلمون أيها السيدات والسادة على أن ما يؤديه المقدسي من ضرائب وأرنونة وما إلى ذلك للبلدية وغيرها من المؤسسات لا يأخذ مقابله أو لا يستفيد في مقابل ذلك إلا من 5% من مخدمات البلدية. نحن نعرف وضعية مساكن غالبية إخواننا، ونعرف أيضا وضعية التجار، ونعرف الوضعية الاقتصادية في القدس، وبذلك كلما كانت لنا الفرصة ندعو إخواننا في منظمة التعاون الإسلامي وفي الدول وكافة الدول الأعضاء في منظمة التعاون الإسلامي على رفض الوكالة بالإمكانيات التمويلية حتى تنهض بمسؤولياتها إزاء إخواننا، لا سيما وأن إجماع الدول الإسلامية قد كان واضحا حول إنشاء آلية واحدة يعهد إليها بتنسيق هذا الدعم العربي والإسلامي الموجه للقدس، وتكون بذلك الوكالة هي تلكم الأداة المثلى لتنسيق هذا الدعم. نحن مستمرون بتعليمات من صاحب الجلالة الملك محمد السادس وبإشراف مباشر من جلالته في تأدية هذه المهمة وفي النهوض بهذه المسؤولية، حتى نكون قد وفينا بجزء يسير مما ينتظره إخواننا المقدسيون والمقدسيات. في كل عام أيها السيدات والسادة يزور المغرب 50 طفل وطفلة من القدس، ويتجولون عبر مختلف مناطق المغرب في الضيافة الكريمة الخاصة لجلالة الملك، ويقفون في هذا البلد على ذلكم التعاطف المبدئي والثابت بين المغاربة وبين أشقائهم في فلسطين وفي القدس. وذلك في الحقيقة ليس منة أو تصنعا، ولكنه واجب إزاء هذا الشعب الصامد المدافع في الصف الأمامي عن حق، ليس فقط الحق الفلسطيني، ليس فقط الحق العربي، ليس فقط الحق الإسلامي والمسيحي، ولكن حق العالم في أن يعيش في رقعة واحدة بسلام بتواصل، لأن القدس كانت دائما مدينة جامعة، مدينة ترمز للسلم والوحدة والتضامن. لا أريد أن أطيل عليكم كثيرا لأنكم استمعتم بما فيه الكفاية للمعطيات الضافية عن أصحاب الشأن وعن العارفين بهذا الشأن. نحن معكم وسنستمر إن شاء الله في القيام بمسؤولياتنا إزاء إخواننا المقدسيين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cherkaoui, for your presentation, an overview on the Jerusalem Committee's work, and particularly Morocco's important role in the committee and its support to Jerusalem. It was indeed interesting to hear about which are the activities of the committee and the agency's strategy plan aimed at supporting broader political and socio-economic policies on Palestine and at complementing the work of the Arab and Islamic community in that regard. So we thank you very much for the presentation. Then we will go immediately to our second panelist on my left. Is Mr. Ufuk Ulutaş, the chairman of the Center for Strategic Research in Turkey's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Before his current position, Mr. Ulutaş coordinated several programs at SETA Foundation, a think tank in Ankara and Washington, D.C. He authored many books and articles on Turkish foreign policy in the Middle East and to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We are honored to have a representative from the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs among us in this panel on the international community support in East Jerusalem. Mr. Ulutaş will present on Turkey's perspective on the question of Jerusalem. Please, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Distinguished guests, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'd like to begin by thanking the organizers for this kind invitation and their effort for this timely conference on Jerusalem, and especially a special thanks goes to our Moroccan hosts for their hospitality. And I second the remarks made by Mr. Cherkaoui on the difficulty of speaking in the last session of today. I also want to add that it's very difficult to have this, to speak in the last session because everyone is tired. It's after the lunch. Everyone prefers to sleep rather than talking about one of the most complicated issues in the world. So I'll do my best to make this as brief as possible and try not to make you sleep during my short presentation. The Arab-Israeli conflict resembles to a matryoshka doll, and on the outside it starts with the layer concerning Israel's unsettled hostilities with its neighbors, but deep down, in the core of the problem, there's the question of Jerusalem. Yesterday and today, many of the speakers emphasized the uniqueness of Jerusalem, which is arguably the most sensitive and contested piece of territory in the world. It is the center of three monotheistic religions and with concrete ties and affiliation with the land, both under and above. It's home to diverse cultures, and it's safe to argue that if one understands Jerusalem, he or she understands the long history of humanity and thousands of years of history. It is, unfortunately, also a hotbed of political, religious, and cultural rivalry, conflict, and attention. Above anything else, it is a common heritage site. Many civilizations, religious groups, and ethnicities built the city, contributed to it, and took part in the creation of Jerusalem as we know it. That is exactly why we should all strive to protect that heritage. And if Jerusalem is the core of the Arab-Israeli conflict in general, the core of the question of Jerusalem is occupation, as mentioned by many of previous speakers. The occupation has been ongoing for decades in violation of numerous UN resolutions. Occupation is the single most important factor that has denied any improvement on the question of Jerusalem, as well as on the overall Arab-Israeli conflict. It is like a radioactive element which keeps mutating the question of Jerusalem and the Arab-Israeli conflict. Israel sees the occupation as an inalienable right, tries to establish claims of ownership to the land through historical, even messianic claims, references, and violates the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people. In other words, Israel suppresses Palestinian people's humanitarian and legal claims to the land through their historical and even messianic claims. Occupation is like a fire burning Israel from inside. It may be seen as a short-term gain with hopefully long-term projections and consequences for Israel by Israel. However, occupation is the single biggest obstacle for Israel's normalization as a state and society, and a long-term problem that undermines the very pillars of the state of Israel. In particular, Israeli occupation of East Jerusalem is a grave concern and has been negating international efforts in finding a just and a lasting solution for the Arab-Israel conflict, as well as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Throughout the past decades, there has been a wide consensus among the international community under the UN about the status of Jerusalem, including through Security Council resolutions 252, 476, 478, as well as General Assembly Resolution 181. On multiple occasions and through multiple resolutions, the UN has reiterated that any unilateral decision that seeks to alter the character of status of Jerusalem, or that may alter these long-standing principles, could seriously undermine current peace efforts and may have repercussions across the region. Therefore, just and a lasting solution to the question of Jerusalem must be found through the negotiations between the related parties. However, we have been following with great concern that Israel has been ignoring UN resolutions and international community's call to stop unilateral steps aimed at changing the status of Jerusalem as the shared capital of both Israel and the state of Palestine. Despite numerous UN resolutions, Israel keeps expanding its illegal settlements in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, demolishing Palestinian homes and expropriating Palestinian land. Needless to say, this is a clear violation of international humanitarian law and specifically the Fourth Geneva Convention. And in the recent days, Israel has considered US President Trump's rather provocative step to move the US embassy to Jerusalem as a green light for its illegal annexation of Jerusalem, thereby a green light to alter the status of Jerusalem. With this move, the US has chosen to be a part of the problem rather than a part of the solution. Its clear bias in favor of Israel claims to Palestine has not been only encouraging Israel's illegal expansionism, but also undermining peace efforts by the international community. We believe if this move triggered a wave of protests by the Palestinians and Israel's about Israel's unproportionate and fatal intervention, the so-called deal of the century, which no one knows about its details, would bear even more catastrophic results. Political engineering done by biased third parties and further pressures put on the Palestinians cannot and will not make us closer to the peace in Palestine. As stated unanimously in the OIC summits in Istanbul and elsewhere, East Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine. Any deal that is short of making East Jerusalem the capital of Palestine cannot and will not work. This is something one cannot be creative about. That is to say, one cannot create a new and imaginative East Jerusalem and ask Palestinians to consider it as East Jerusalem. Therefore, any move that bolsters Israel's claims of undivided Jerusalem as its capital is a non-starter. For Turkey, Palestine and the question of Jerusalem is not only a legal or a humanitarian issue. It is also a historical responsibility. Palestine in general, and Jerusalem in particular, is an Islamic, Arab, Ottoman heritage site. The Ottoman Empire built Palestine for centuries. Palestine is one of very few issues in Turkey that people from all political spectrums converge on. Turkey has always demonstrated a genuine interest in the well-being of the Palestinians, opposed to Israel's illegal expansionism, and worked to find a lasting solution to the conflict in both international and local levels. Just to give you one example, and this is also indicative of Turkey's role of mediation for the conflict, Turkey was a member of a three-member committee, Conciliation Commission for Palestine, which was established by the General Assembly by Resolution 194 of 11 December 1948. The Commission assumed the mediator's function in seeking a final settlement of Jerusalem. Turkey's position with regard to Palestine and Jerusalem is quite clear and carries no ambiguities. Turkey supports the two-state solution and encourages negotiations over all final status issues. Turkey joins international community in calling for a total Israeli withdrawal from the Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem. Turkey actively supports the realization of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including the right to self-determination. We abhor measures taken by Israel to isolate Jerusalem from the West Bank, to cancel Palestinians' residency status, to limit sovereignty of Palestinian institutions, and to continue with archaeological excavations endangering the Haram al-Sharif and beyond. In last years, as Israel's occupation of Jerusalem deepens, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, as the summit chair of the OIC, convened the organization twice for Extraordinary Islamic Summit. On December 2017, for example, member states of the OIC prepared Istanbul Declaration on the freedom for Al-Quds. The Istanbul Declaration aimed at countering US's reckless moves and Israel's excessive use of power and ongoing occupation, and creating a common action plan for the Muslim world. The declaration emphasized the recognition of the state of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital, invited the whole world to recognize East Jerusalem as the occupied capital of the state of Palestine. And on May 2018, in the aftermath of Israel's mass killings on the Gaza border, the Extraordinary Islamic Summit convened again in Istanbul, where member states called on the UN Security Council, the UN General Assembly, the UN Secretary General, UN Human Rights Council, the Special Rapporteur, and the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights to take necessary actions to form an international investigation committee into the recent atrocities in the Gaza Strip. The summit also confirmed the importance of the Palestinian cause and the status of Jerusalem to the Muslim world, and once again rejected the US decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Needless to say, Turkey has taken part in every single effort in the UN aiming at preserving the status of Jerusalem, and we will keep doing so and do our best to mobilize the international community to attract the attention of the international community to the atrocities committed by Israel and preserve the status of Eastern Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine. Thank you.
I thank you very much, Mr. Ulutaş, for your presentation. which indeed in a very concise but at the same time comprehensive manner has presented to us the Turkish perspective and positions, a very clear position on the question of Jerusalem, and you have just highlighted the issue of occupations, the humanitarian aspects, the question of Jerusalem as a fundamental part of the final status, which is something that has been dealing with during all the panels, which is a very important aspects of the whole issue. Thank you very much for the presentation, and then we will immediately go to our third speaker, Mr. Halit Eren, the Director General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation's Research Center for Islamic History, Art and Culture, based in Istanbul. The center serves as a platform for cooperation among OIC member states and researchers to promote Islamic culture. Mr. Eren has hit several research projects for the promotion of Islamic culture and art. The protection of Jerusalem's heritage and character is at the heart of his work. He will speak about the organization of Islamic cooperation support in East Jerusalem. Please, Mr. Eren, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this important conference and to the Kingdom of Morocco for their hospitality. Jerusalem preserves its importance and spiritual values as a city hosting the most sacred spaces of the three heavenly religions. It is known to be one of the most ancient civilizational centers on earth. Jerusalem has been the home of the prophets and the place where some of the most important events unfolded in the early phases of human history. For Muslims, Al-Quds, Jerusalem is the first Qibla and location for the ascent Miraj of Prophet Mohammed, peace be upon him, to heavens. Al-Quds Sharif, Jerusalem, is the only city in the world that is accepted as sacred by the three holy religion books. This historical background has made it possible for different nations and civilizations to leave their religious, cultural, and architectural traces in Jerusalem that have been transmitted to the present day. This fact makes Jerusalem equitable and sustainable peace and observation of basic principles of international law in Jerusalem essential for the maintenance of world peace. Jerusalem underwent the most difficult period of its history and suffered from increasingly severe destruction under the Israeli occupation since 1967. Israel's illegal settlement policy, implemented via confiscations and appropriations of Palestinian properties, continued as a regular process. Excavations were performed underneath Masjid al-Aqsa, which represents the third holiest masjid for Muslims, endangering its continued presence. Various restrictions were imposed on access to Al-Aqsa for people from different faith groups. Over the course of recent decades, historical districts such as Al-Maghariba and Al-Sharaf were almost completely destroyed, and living conditions in Muslim quarters sharply deteriorated. Most recently, the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv was moved to Jerusalem by the American administration, despite widespread condemnation by the Muslim world and international community. The plight of Al-Quds and Palestine was the founding motive of the Organization of Islamic Conference in 1969, and resolution of the conflict remains the organization's foremost cause. Thus, the issue also constitutes one of the priority areas for the Research Center for Islamic History, Art and Culture, IRCICA, the cultural organ of the OIC. For almost 4 decades, IRCICA has conducted research, cultural, social, architectural, and academic studies concerning the Islamic history and heritage in Al-Quds in Jerusalem. This heritage covers the built structures, written works, archives, archaeological and artworks, and the long-standing tradition and experience of coexistence. Protection of this heritage is part of an effort towards justice that would be respectful of undeniable rights of Muslims in the region. In this endeavor, IRCICA has been at the foremost of international consultation and collaboration through its multifaceted activities. These activities include research on culture and heritage of Jerusalem based on first-hand sources. They include studies and publications aimed at highlighting the history of the region, record and preserve its cultural heritage, and help to improve the socio-economic conditions of people residing in the region. Another element of IRCICA activities concerning Jerusalem is international conferences and works organized on various aspects of the historical and civilizational heritage. These meetings bring leading experts from the OIC member states and observer states and from concerned UN agencies together. IRCICA's very first publication in 1982 was a survey of Muslim pious foundations and real estates in 5 regions of Palestine, including Jerusalem. Information on the foundations and properties of past centuries, especially those that contributed to public education and welfare, was deciphered and processed from the Ottoman state registers. Another extensive study on Islamic endowments in Jerusalem was published in 2010 in 2 volumes about the Ufuk of Muslim pious foundations in Jerusalem. Since then, IRCICA continued to collect data and prepare research reports on the subject. One of our long-term research projects on Jerusalem consists of collecting official documents from the archives of the Ottoman state in Istanbul and other countries and putting them to use as a historical reference work on economic and social life. Since 2016, 4 volumes were published in the context of this project, devoted to archival research relating to the 16th through the 19th centuries, respectively. Another long-term project conducted by IRCICA consists of studies and conditions of legal courts of Jerusalem dating from the past centuries. Up to now, 19 volumes being published. Through these studies, we render the original sources on administrative, economic, and social history in Jerusalem accessible to all interested researchers. Until now, we have published 18 volumes in this series, each focusing on one court register. This year, we launched a new research project based on land and real estate registers of Palestine from the past centuries. The project is based on collecting and evaluating data on ownership and use of land and structures in various locations of Palestine. Furthermore, IRCICA's archive of historical photographs has an elaborate section on Jerusalem. The albums dating from the reign of Sultan Abdulhamid II from the late 19th century and early 20th century constitute a major reference source. In 2009, we published a selection of 468 photographs on Al-Quds in an annotated album in 3 separate languages in Turkish, English, and Arabic. This album gives evidence of the multi-faith cultural heritage, urban structures, and monuments in Jerusalem. In 2015, another album containing historical and present-time photographs of sites and monuments was published. We are also presenting these documentary sources to public attention by organizing exhibitions at different venues within and outside the OIC member states. Alongside these scholarly projects and books, from 2006 onwards, IRCICA carried out an architectural preservation program for 10 years involving studies, training, theoretical and practical work. It was conducted with the collaboration of universities and participation of professors and students from all over the world. It included annual seminars, field missions, architectural studios, and project workshops coordinated by universities in consultation with IRCICA during each academic year. This involved research, planning, and design for conservation of quarters, sites, and monuments. After the first seminar held in 2005, a field mission in Jerusalem was undertaken in 2007 where a detailed report was issued concerning the urban fabric and state of the buildings and living conditions. In 2008, a workshop was organized again in Jerusalem with the participation of 34 professors of architecture together with their assistants and students. During the following years, research, seminars, and workshops on Jerusalem continued in collaboration with different universities. The resulting suggestions of restoration plans and conservation strategies were presented at annual seminars. Architectural panels were organized and guidelines were elaborated concerning restoration of some of the key structures. Reports were also published. Among IRCICA activities that made a significant importance on Jerusalem are various international conferences. We organized the International Conference on Preservation of Al-Quds Islamic Heritage in Istanbul in 2014 with the participation of the Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Turkey and the Deputy Prime Minister of the State of Palestine with the contributions of international experts. More recently, the International Conference on Protecting the Cultural Heritage of the Muslim World was organized by IRCICA jointly with the OIC General Secretariat in Istanbul in November 2017 and devoted special session to Jerusalem. The Director General of ICROM and UN experts on heritage also participated in this conference. IRCICA's data and documentation work also includes sections on Jerusalem in the context of Prince Sultan bin Salman Islamic Architectural Heritage Database, which is sponsored by Prince Sultan bin Salman of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and maintained by IRCICA. All tangible and intangible cultural heritage and the present status of Jerusalem is known through these studies, as well as the consequences of Israeli occupation and oppressive measures for the people and the city. Islamic history is less known and sometimes overlooked by the international public opinion due to the occupation. The difference in the quality of physical conditions of monuments in and outside Haram al-Sharif is striking. The Muslim history of Jerusalem shall be given emphasis by the international community and scholars as well. Concerning the future, what could be done to preserve the cultural heritage of Jerusalem and make its history understood is a subject continuously under consideration by IRCICA. This reflection and monitoring is done within the framework of OIC action program and with the collaboration of all authorities and organizations that are involved in different ways and with different capacities. IRCICA, in the context of this mission, emphasizes the following principles: highlighting the Islamic identity and heritage of Al-Quds for the knowledge of present and future generations, to organize activities within and outside the Muslim world in order to make this heritage and its historical sources known more deeply, keeping the multi-faith history and heritage of Jerusalem on the agenda of international cooperation platforms as a way to strengthen public consciousness on it, drawing attention to the illegitimacy of Israel's aggressive acts and attitudes on every occasion and at all levels through international fora, mass media, and education programs, maintaining research through studies, publications, conferences, and other activities on Jerusalem, maintaining education and training through seminars and workshops on Jerusalem, coordinating studios and restoration projects in architectural faculties, the outcomes of which can guide the restoration of some monuments and improvements of living conditions in Jerusalem. IRCICA is ready to contribute in every effort concerning the historical and cultural heritage of Jerusalem, Al-Quds, within its institutional mandate and capacities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eren, for your presentation. The support of your organization, IRCICA, is invaluable in promoting and preserving the legal status of Jerusalem, its character, cultural, and historical identity, which would definitively contribute to recognize it as the capital of both Israel and Palestine, but particularly East Jerusalem as capital of an independent and sovereign state of Palestine. Thank you very much for the presentation. And then I will now, it is indeed my pleasure to give the floor to Mr. Roberto Valent, the special representative of the administrator of UNDP program of assistance to the Palestinian people. His intervention will be on the UN support in East Jerusalem. This should be a very important intervention as UNDP works closely with donors and conducts a comprehensive program in support of Palestinians, including Jews. Mr. Valent has headed the assistance program for many years, and before this current post, he worked for the UNDP in a number of other countries since 1995, with a vast experience at the field. Mr. Valent, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam. Excellencies. I said thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. Excellencies, participants, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here and engage in this very fruitful and momentous discussion. And it's been very interesting for me to learn a lot in these last 2 days. Thank you to our host, the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Kingdom of Morocco, and the Division for Palestinian Rights. We have been highlighting these days through the discussion of the situation in East Jerusalem that clearly is at a critical point for the different reasons that were highlighted. The challenges to be overcome in Jerusalem and the wider state of Palestine to a certain extent as well include, and it's been said, restricted residency rights and political representation, increasing settlements and risk of dislocation, and we know that the Bedouin communities these days are very much at the forefront of being probably dislocated. Physical fragmentation, not to speak about other type of fragmentations, planning restrictions, housing demolitions, restrictions on access and availability of health, education services, space for culture and representation of the individual and community-based and people's identity, economic isolation, clearly limited trade with the West Bank, not to say beyond the West Bank, and the closure of Palestinian institutions in Jerusalem, just to name a few of them. This obviously also carries challenges in relation to the overall governance architecture and ability of governance actors, duty bearers, to activate themselves meaningfully and with presence in East Jerusalem. Such chronic actions and challenges should not be a deterrent for further development of development capital to be infused in East Jerusalem. Clearly, there is a whole discussion about whether development can be sustainable under occupation, that there has been a lot of literature in this respect. I'm not going to get into the details. As a collective body, the international community is entrusted to direct efforts towards the realization of the principles of international law and support the exercise of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, among which development is one of the rights. This is clearly, there are covenants that have been adhered to by all member states, both Israel and Palestine in particular. So that's, we look at, yes, humanitarian action, the humanitarian imperative, but there is also a development and a resilience imperative. And in the case of Palestine, Sumud, probably when we talk about resilience within the UN and the broader international architecture globally, we always go back to the Sumud type of approach, which is not just dealing with the setbacks, but is really moving back and forward. As member states and duty bearers, obviously there is an obligation. Solutions to the challenges are definitely in line with promoting a just and peaceful settlement to the conflict and the end of occupation, and the realization of the two-state solution, and Security Council resolutions, General Assembly resolutions have been very clear on this. Speaking on behalf of my organization, UNDP, we have been able to manage critical development resources in East Jerusalem, including in the last years. We have an ability to do so because member states, organizations like OIC, organizations like the Islamic Development Bank, organizations and countries that are very close to Palestine within the at the Gulf countries level, India, South Africa, Norway, Sweden, Italy, France, and you name it. I mean, enable us as UN to do so. We are not levying taxes, as you know, so we are always dependent. And the case of UNRWA is a case in point on international solidarity and the financing of UN activities on the ground to be able to provide the services that are needed and support Palestinian resilience. And Minister Stayed was saying that there is room for action in Jerusalem, and indeed, not only there is room, but there is a major requirement for action in East Jerusalem. Probably some of the highest levels of poverty in Palestine, actually the highest, you can find them actually in Jerusalem when it comes to Palestinian population. That's, one would say, no, that must be Gaza. No, it's in Jerusalem. When you really look at the level of poverty, when you measure it, you will see that the reality is extremely bleak in that sense. And the fight against poverty is clearly a cornerstone within the Sustainable Development Agenda. And the Sustainable Development Goals matter also to Palestine. And I know that Palestine will be presenting its own report at the level of the General Assembly shortly. It is my privilege to stand here also in this vital conversation to highlight also the UN engagement strategy in East Jerusalem. We are quite a few agencies. We are coordinated by the UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator, and we all fall under the guidelines of the Special Coordinator of the Middle Eastern Peace Process, Nikolai Mladenov. And there we really join up the political, human rights, humanitarian and development work of the UN, obviously clearly everyone with its own responsibilities with respect to these different dimensions. And in accordance with the UN approach, we share a proposed platform for Palestinian development. And we are currently working also with the government of Palestine and development partners in advancing an initiative called the Resilience and Development Facility or Framework. This is part of discussions that have been maturing in the last 2 years. We've had a conference in Amman, and we are really trying to look at how do you actually articulate, not in a scattered manner, but how do you bring the different actors that are operating in East Jerusalem, in Jerusalem, together within a strategic framework of intervention. Owing to the challenges that Palestinians face in Jerusalem and in light of the complex spatial legal nexus East Jerusalemites lives under, advancing UN and partners' interventions collectively with common objectives and approaches is critical to ensuring increased coherence and effectiveness in operations and programs to advance Palestinian resilience and development. And allow me to stress this needs to be a joint effort. The government of Palestine has developed an East Jerusalem strategy and framework, and we all work within the OPT in alignment to the national priorities and strategies. Resilience for development obviously is not just an East Jerusalem issue, but it also relates to Area C, which represents a critical mass of land where you're having a major wealth and Palestinian endowment that is not controlled by Palestine directly, and in Gaza, where there is obviously another set of complexities. I must say that the UN overall goal for East Jerusalem is to maintain the viability of a negotiated agreement on the emergence of Jerusalem as the future capital of two states. This has been said, but it's important to reiterate it. Alleviate, obviously, the suffering of East Jerusalem Palestinians affected by the current context, including the refugee population, and restore East Jerusalem standing in the political, commercial, religious, and cultural life of Palestine. There are three interrelated and only in unison will they succeed strategies undertaken to achieve this goal at the UN level and beyond, I can say. The provision of humanitarian assistance to and protection of vulnerable Palestinian populations. Basically, we are talking about leaving no one behind. We are having a critical mass of people left behind in Jerusalem. Support towards a strengthened physical, socioeconomic, and cultural Palestinian presence in East Jerusalem and as an integral part of the political architecture of the State of Palestine, monitoring and advocacy within the framework of UN resolution and international law to promote the human rights of Palestinians in East Jerusalem and preserving Palestinian character of the city. While coordination mechanisms do exist to work towards shared strategies and principles of action regarding East Jerusalem, there is yet to be an inclusive multi-stakeholder mechanism and platform. And this is obviously due to the fact of the Israeli annexation. You're not necessarily having the possibility of a standing presence of the Palestinian Authority in East Jerusalem. This is to foster increased socioeconomic and socio-spatial integration of East Jerusalem with the rest of the State of Palestine, follows a set of standard operating procedures regarding policies and programming in East Jerusalem to remain consistent when it comes to the UN, definitely with both the letter and the spirit of applicable law, and the position of stakeholders regarding the legal and political status of East Jerusalem. Collectively, we advocate on integrated and innovative solutions to overcome the current complacency with the development status quo and fatigue with regards to Palestinian development. And I've been in Palestine in between 2007, 2010, the end of 2010, and I remember that actual budgetary support and development direct support to the government of Palestine at the time was around 2009, $1.7 billion plus. And right now, 2017, 18 essentially is moving downwards to 600, and probably it will be in the range of 500 million for the year 2018 from the trends that we see. The current needs of aid delivery to East Jerusalem include greater coordination and consistency of strategies, as I was saying. This is particularly important owing to the annexation of East Jerusalem and the effects of the Oslo Accords on Palestinian representation in East Jerusalem. The Oslo Agreement limited operations of the Palestinian Authority to areas under its jurisdiction, given that Jerusalem is a final status issue to be discussed through negotiations, obviously. We must recognize and reaffirm the importance of the role of the international community and local and international CSOs in East Jerusalem, community-based organizations, to support Palestinian rights and support the existence of modest formal representation that remains, that essentially is in so many ways modest and remains modest for the moment. Here is where I would like to turn to a pilot initiative. These are discussions that are maturing in Ramallah, that takes these elements into consideration, particularly the need to revitalize development in East Jerusalem and in the context of ongoing and increasing challenges. At the moment, we are in the initial planning and research stages of the development of the Resilience and Development Facility, where we hope to identify clear evidence-based action strategies and interventions that exemplify the principles of transformative resilience, essentially really transforming people's lives. In a context of protracted occupation, we cannot ask populations to remain in positions that are relegated to humanitarian assistance and low-level standards of lives. So we need to ensure that socioeconomic, cultural rights are very much supported. Such process is being undertaken in a participatory manner with engagement of communities, government, civil society, private sector, donors, and stakeholders. The facility, Resilience for Development Facility, aims to bring all relevant stakeholders from civil society to donors to the private sector towards filling existing coordination and development gaps. Sorry for it's taking a little bit long, but I'm finishing. Filling existing coordination and development gaps in relation to East Jerusalem, but also Area C and Gaza, as well as other at-risk terrains such as the Seam Zone, in terms of adequately linking short-term to medium and long-term impacts and action, prioritizing the integration of these vulnerable areas into Palestinian development. Through the inclusion of all stakeholders, the goal is really to strengthen transparency, accountability, mutual trust, confidence among partners, and create the conditions for stronger advocacy and positioning, inclusive of raising stakes to be made through the framework of a multi-stakeholder platform, because the issue is to ensure that definitely East Jerusalem and different areas, the international community can work joint solutions, pooling together resources in support of Palestinian rights and aspirations. The UN recognizes the vibrancy and the critical role that civil society organizations play, particularly in East Jerusalem, and have performed in supporting the maintenance of the Palestinian identity and presence in East Jerusalem. In addition to ongoing technical and financial assistance to such organizations in different areas of engagement, the UN can increase their efforts through resilience and development for mobilizing national and international non-governmental organizations in the pursuit of particular development objectives: urban planning, youth economic empowerment, housing, culture, health, education, advocacy. In this process, the UN will continue to support the coordinated participation and involvement of all organizations that provide valuable assistance to the Palestinian people. And finally, we cannot clearly underestimate the need for positive resilience and development actions, translating ideas into solutions, focusing on how the reinvigoration of the development prospect of Palestinians in East Jerusalem and the strengthening of the resilience can really become a reality as we move forward. It's their rights, is their human rights, is a development rights, is a humanitarian imperative, it's really very much at the heart of what everybody, all member states of the United Nations and the partners have to strive for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valent, for this informative and very comprehensive presentation on the work of the UNDP program of assistance to the Palestinian people. UN agencies present in this conference and others that are at the field in Jerusalem will remain of fundamental importance for the committee's work and for the realization of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, which indeed include the right to development. and the implementation, as you has just said, Mr. Valent, of the Sustainable Development Goals, following the principle of leaving no one behind, which is the essence of the Agenda 2034 development, and Palestinian people cannot be left behind. It is our collective responsibility to guarantee that the Palestinian people is not left behind in questions of development. By the way, and just to initiate our discussion, let me highlight something which is very important and significant, not only for the Palestine, but for all of us that we support the Palestinians and the Palestinian cause, which is the next presidency of the Palestinian, of the G77, the group of 77 and China, next year in 2019, which, as you probably know, the G77 and China is conformed by 135 countries, most of them from the south. And it's a very important grouping of countries that has a negotiating character and consultation of positions within the United Nations. The next president of Palestine demonstrates the recognitions that the international community give to the state of Palestine as a very important actor in the United Nations, within the international community, and as a very important promoter of the development issues and the implementation of Agenda 2030, although they suffer very difficult conditions because this abhorrent occupation for more than almost 70 years. With these comments and with the valuable contributions that we have just heard from our excellent speakers, I will now open the floor for our discussions. Participants are welcome to ask questions or make comments, including general ones, and particularly on the presentations of our guest speakers. We will get some questions or comments from the audience, and then we will be back for our speaker to respond or to comment, and we will follow the proceeding like this. Then I have two here. They raise the hands at the same time. Your friends, which of you will be the first? The older. Okay, we have to be polite on that case. Okay. Mr. Said, please, you have the floor, and then you follow him. Thank you.
شكرا جزيلا. بداية لي ملاحظة للأخ سعادة الأخ الشرقاوي. أنت قلت في مداخلتك أنكم تشعرون بأنكم أصبحتم أكثر قربا من الشعب الفلسطيني. أنا أريد أن أؤكد لك أنكم كنتم دائما قريبين من الشعب الفلسطيني. أنا قبل أكثر من 60 سنة كان أحد أساتذتي اللغة العربية أحمد الطيب، وكان زملائي في الصف من آل عبد الحق كانوا فلسطينيين قبل أن يكونوا مغاربة. عرفناهم كفلسطينيين قبل أن نعرفهم كمغاربة، ولذلك أنا أردت أن أقول لكم أنكم كنتم دائما قريبين منا ومن قلوبنا. وأيضا أنا أقول بأن أول مرة استخدمت فيها الجرافات الإسرائيلية لهدم منازل في القدس كانت لهدم وقف أبو مدين، الحي المغربي الملاصق للمسجد الأقصى. أول عملية هدم تمت في القدس كانت ضد المغاربة، ضد الحي المغربي الذي كان أحد المعالم التاريخية في مدينة القدس. وهذا كان في الأيام الأولى للاحتلال لخلق أمر واقع جديد من أجل توسيع الساحة الموجودة أمام حائط البراق الذي يسمونه حائط المبكى. المغرب تعمل بصمت بدون دعاية وبدون ضجيج إعلامي، ونحن نثمن ونقدر كثيرا ما تقوم به المغرب في القدس. أنت ذكرت بشكل عابر موضوع البيت المغربي، أنا أقول لك بأن البيت المغربي هو من أخطر العقارات التي كنا نخشى أن تتسرب إلى اليهود. هذا العقار موجود في باب الغوانمة على مدخل المسجد الأقصى، وهو أكثر من 1400 متر مساحته مربعا. وأنا مسرور جدا أن هذا العقار انتهى به المطاف لأن يكون مركز ثقافي مغربي في قلب مدينة القدس القديمة. نحن نثمن جهودكم ومساعدتكم، ونثمن أيضا عملكم الصامت بدون ضجة، بدون دعاية، بدون إعلام، بدون شيء تعملون لوجه الله. نقدر هذا العمل ونشكركم عليه. ملاحظتي للإخوة من تركيا هاليت وأفق. Today there were some news in the Israeli media saying that some Arab countries are warning Israel from the Turkish activities in Jerusalem. This was headlines in today newspapers in Israel. We as Palestinians, we don't want anyone to try to politicize any aid coming to the Palestinian people. And we appreciate very much what TICA is doing in Jerusalem, what you are doing for our people. And don't listen to those who try to associate Turkey with the Muslim brothers and then try to incite against Turkey, saying that they are associated with the Muslim brothers. We are not part of all this war between those and those. We are a people who appreciate what you are doing, and we want you to do more, and we want to thank you for what you are doing. And please don't get us, you or the others, don't get us to the area where there is any political conflict between any other countries. Thank you very much for your aid.
Thank you, Mr. Abu Sayed. Then I give the floor to Mr. Siam, please.
يعني بداية أتوجه مرة أخرى بالشكر إلى المغرب الشقيق للاستضافة وللقيمة والقوة العالية التي أعطيت لهذا المؤتمر، والمتمثلة بداية في كلمة جلالة الملك محمد السادس التي كانت هي الرسالة الأقوى والمباشرة لكل ما يجري في أعمال هذا المؤتمر. وأضيف حيث انتهى زميلي بالقول حول رسالة البيت المغربي، إنها باختصار رسالة تلمس آمال وآلام الشعب الفلسطيني في مدينة القدس، ليكون بذلك تمكين لهؤلاء المواطنين. هكذا أبلغت وسمعت هذه الرسالة عندما كنت في استقبال وزير الخارجية قبل فترة قصيرة. أضيف لكل أولئك الأخوة الذين تحدثوا بخصوص الحفاظ على مدينة القدس وما تعتريها من مخاطر وتغييرات، أنا أريد أن أقول الفلاسفة يقولون إنك لا تضع قدمك في النهر مرتين، وأنا أقول إنك لا تنظر إلى القدس في اليوم مرتين. إن حجم التغيير في مدينة القدس تعدى مرحلة التغيير إلى مرحلة التدمير. ما تم رصده في الأسبوع الماضي كان هناك 684 هدفاً في القدس تم بالفعل تغييرها من وجهها من هويتها العربية الإسلامية والمسيحية إلى الأسرلة والتهويد، سواء كان هذا التغيير بالمسميات أو حتى تغييراً مادياً. فالآن باب العمود ليس ذلك الباب المعروف بالفترات السابقة كيف كان، اليوم هو أشبه بثكنة عسكرية. في هذا السياق أقول أن منظمة اليونسكو كانت اتخذت قراراً بخصوص مدينة القدس، وهذا القرار هام جداً بالحفاظ على هذه المدينة كتراث حضاري. ما ندعو له أن يكون هناك تواجد دائم للجنة من اليونسكو في مدينة القدس، لأن الأحداث تحدث كل ساعة وكل يوم. كانت هناك عملية الهدم التي تذكرتم وذكرتم في العام 67 في منطقة باب المغاربة، ولكن تلة باب المغاربة، هذه التلة الهامة، هذه التلة الكبيرة، تلة باب المغاربة، والتي هي بقية الأثر الشاهد على المكان، تم إزالتها قبل نحو عامين من أجل أن يقام على الحائط الجنوبي، على الحائط الغربي للمسجد الأقصى، أكثر من 5000 متر بناء سياحي وديني في منطقة حائط البراق. إذن التغيير المتسارع فعلا يحتاج إلى تدخل وقرار دولي جريء. نعم، التنمية المستدامة، التنمية المستدامة يعني في ظل هذا الوضع الذي أصبح فيه الوضع ينتقل إلى الإسعاف الأولي في مدينة القدس للمؤسسات الموجودة. المؤسسات ما بين مغلقة منذ أكثر من 12 عاما، وما بين ما يواجه خطر الإغلاق وخطر المنع للنشاطات لهذه المؤسسات، كما أغلقت مؤسسة إيلياء قبل أسبوع تقريبا. إذن التدخل والوقت لا ينتظر. يعني أنا أستذكر ما قاله أخونا الشهيد فيصل الحسيني، وقد ذكرناه لأنه يستحق كثيرا فيما يقول في القدس: إن زيارتك للسجين في سجنه ليست تطبيعا مع السجان، وإنما هي زيارة لابنك في هذا السجن. نعم، ندعو إلى حضور يحذو فيه الكل حذو المملكة المغربية، بأن يكون هناك تواجد حقيقي ومكان قائم في مدينة القدس من أجل تقديم ما يلزم. العالم الحر كله الآن يقف مع فلسطين، وهذا دور جيد، وإن شاء الله المرحلة القادمة ستجسد لهذا الصمود الذي سيد روبرتو كيف يمكن أن يبقى هذا الصمود. أنا أؤكد أن هذا الصمود الذي كان طوال 50 عاما بالصدور العارية وبالإمكانيات الأقل يدرك تماما أنه في الربع الأخير من المسافة، وبالتالي سيزداد هذا الصمود جذوة وقوة، لأنه لا أمام ولا خيار إلا أن نكون في القدس مقدسيين باقين فيها كمواطنين. وشكرا لكم جميعا.
I thank Mr. Siam. Is there any other questions or comments from the audience? Please, ma'am, you have the floor.
My name is Mira. I am a teacher. I am an Israeli teacher. We heard in this conference a lot about the past and the present time of occupation. We can see a lot of suffering. I feel so much sympathy upon it. Now let me ask about the future. There is an elephant in this room and no one is speaking about it. I look around and I don't see any delegate from Hamas. And those who are here don't represent the Hamas. For us Israelis, Gaza today is the model of the future Palestinian state. You must admit that it is very frightening for us. We Israelis are afraid that in the end of the day, we will face a Hamastan state both in Gaza and in the West Bank. What is your response, my dear Palestinian friends, to this elephant in the room? And it's an open question, even to the UN. Thank you.
I thank you for your intervention and questions. I have the Ambassador Riyad. You have requested for the floor.
Thank you very much. I was reluctant to speak on this panel because I will be speaking and giving concluding remarks in the closing session. But our friend who raised the issue about the elephant in the room, we have to be very honest with each other. I think that for all of us who have been following the conflict for a long period of time, We went through so many stages. كيف؟ مش مهم مش مهم مش مهم مش مهم. In the past, it was the evil Fatah, the PLO, the base that we had in Jordan, then the base that we had in Fakhani in Lebanon, and then the base that we had in Al-Arqub in South Lebanon. Then this theme changed, that the base and the evil is Saddam al-Hussein and the nuclear weapons that he has. And of course, this is evolving into Iran posing an existential, threat against Israel. And this now, it is Hamas time. I believe it is the duty of all of us, including those in Israel, not to continue looking at a threat outside, but to move in the direction of peace. Because peace will be the best thing for us, the best thing for the Israelis, because with peace, we will marginalize all extremists in all sides. But if we have to continue giving certificates of our good conduct as Palestinians, then there will never be an end to this cycle, vicious cycle of trying to have a perfect environment that may or may not convince those who think that way on the Israeli side. I think we need brave men and women in the Israeli side to say the best thing for all of us is peace. Because for us it would have been very easy to say, we will never negotiate with Sharon. We will never negotiate with Rabin. We will never negotiate with Netanyahu. We know their records. We know what they have done to the Palestinian people. If for us to be fixated in their records and Moshe Dayan and others, then we would not have the moment of having negotiations during the time of President Arafat and the Prime Minister Rabin. You do not negotiate with your friends, you negotiate with your enemy. What do you negotiate? You negotiate peace. So therefore, the big elephant in the room should be, are we going to have peace? Are we courageous enough to have peace? The answer should be yes. What do we have to do in order to accomplish peace? We have to be brave to say that Israel has to withdraw from the land that they occupied in 1967 to build an independent state next to it so that we can begin a new culture of peace between two independent states living next to each other with respect, with equality, so to open new chapters of relationship. For us, the victims, the Palestinian people, we transformed ourselves to that level. We used to say in the past that Palestine is all for us, and it was correct because we, in 1947 and 48, and here, there are the records in Istanbul, by the Ottoman Empire, who owned the properties on the eve of 1948. The Palestinian Arabs own more than 94% of the real estate in Palestine, and they were 70% of the people. But we were able to transform ourselves from saying that all of Palestine is for us into accepting to have two states on the same historical piece of land, which is Palestine. That is a massive transformation from the Palestinian side, and we went even further in our flexibility and realism by not only saying, as some of my brothers suggested, we should negotiate on the basis of Resolution 181, which gives us almost half of Palestine and for the other state, the other half, but we accepted to establish our own state on 22% of the land. How much do you want more from us? Instead of concentrating on us to give more and more and more to deal with the fear of some of you, concentrate on yourself to create a massive force within your country that is interested in peace, that is interested in putting an end to the tragedy of the Palestinian people and their oppression and occupying them, so that we can together move in the direction of having peace. And once we do that, that will be the best thing for you and the best thing for us. We are committed to that process. We cannot continue to give certificate of good conduct. We've passed through that path many times in the past, but we appeal to you that concentrate on your side, build your own peace camp, be very courageous in that direction, as we have been, so that we can build peace together, and that would be the best for all of us.
Thank you, Ambassador and dear friend. Riyad, another comments? I would say that as a committee, we should always try to invite the representative or participants from Gaza, not from Hamas, from Gaza, to participate in these kinds of conference or initiative. But they have been denied from the Israeli authorities to come, to participate. They denies them the exit permits, but we have tried always to invite them. I will now give the floor to the panelists, to the speakers. Let's start with Mr. Cherkaoui, please.
Yes, thank you. I want to say a few short statements for reacting to the assistance. First of all, there is a printout report from the Al-Quds agency, urgent needs and the achievements to support our friends in Al-Quds. أنا قلت البارح أخي أبو زياد لحظة بس سريعة. أنا قلت البارح لزملائي هون في السفارة الفلسطينية أنه لما أحضر في بعض المناسبات الدولية أكون دائما متشرفا بالقيمة الهائلة لتمثيلية الإخوان الفلسطينيين، وأنا أعجبت بمداخلاتكم جميعا، دكتور زياد، أخي عبد الله صيام، طبعا سعد سفير وسيد وزير، وقلتها البارحة جهارا. طبعا لا نحتاج في الحقيقة، نحن أقل من أن نتحدث أمامكم في مواضيع أنتم تعيشونها وتعيشون صعوباتها. أنا قلت أصبحنا نحس وكأننا أكثر مسؤولية، لأنه لا أريد أن ينقل عني أن أقول أنه فيه إحساس منا جميعا بنوع من التراخي إن لم أقل بعض التخاذل. هذه هي فقط انشغالي، وهكذا قلتها بالطريقة التي أتت، ربما لم أكن موفقا. المملكة المغربية طبعا نحن طبعا سعداء بأننا يعني نكون ضمن هذا الجو الذي يبعث على الأمل في أن نستمع إلى بعضنا، ولكن نريد أن نخرج من هذه الغرفة ونقول ماذا سنعمل على الأرض. تلكم كانت الرسالة الأقوى في خطاب جلالة الملك الافتتاحي: نعم للمؤتمرات الهادفة بحس عال من المسؤولية، ولكن نعم أيضا بموازاة ذلك للعمل على الأرض، للعمل على الميدان. Maybe a few words for our friends French. Vous savez, mesdames, messieurs, que le comité Al-Quds travaille sur deux aspects en parallèle. C'est l'aspect diplomatico-politique prôné par Sa Majesté à la tête de la diplomatie marocaine et le travail concret qu'on est en train de faire dans l'agence Bayt Al-Quds Al-Sharif pour appuyer les habitants d'Al-Quds qui mènent un effort extraordinaire pour sauvegarder leur présence légitime sur le terrain, mais aussi pour donner ce caractère humain, universel à cette ville sainte d'Al-Quds, qui a témoigné toujours que c'est une ville unificatrice, une ville dans laquelle tout le monde peut vivre dans la sérénité, dans la paix et dans la cohabitation. Merci pour votre attention.
Thank you, Mr. Cherkaoui. Then I will give the floor to Mr. Ulutaş, please.
Well, two very short remarks. I have seen that piece, the gentleman that asked made the remark, I think left the room, but increasing Turkish presence in the eastern Jerusalem, is that something good or bad? I have seen the article. I mean, Turkey is in Palestine in general, not only in eastern Jerusalem, through its development agencies. And we all know that Turkey is supportive of the Palestinian cause in general. And this is, of course, Turkey has been doing this in conjunction with the Palestinian Authority and other authorities on the ground. So I don't think that Palestinians are concerned about that. Israel has every right to be concerned about that, but it's their own business. When it comes to Palestinians, I don't think it causes any kind of problem. And as I mentioned in my previous remarks, the issue of Palestine is above politics in Turkey. Every segment of the Turkish society supports the Palestinian cause. So it's not a political matter. It's a humanitarian. It's a legal. It's a cultural matter. And one very small remark about the elephant in the room. I think we are passing the concept of occupation very fastly here. Occupation may be our past and present. The reason why we are here is that we don't want occupation to be our future. That's why we are here. That's why we are discussing occupation. And reducing the whole Palestinian-Israeli conflict to Hamas and other related issues doesn't make too much sense, actually, for those who are following the Palestinian affairs closely. It may be a strategy employed by certain, politicians within Israel, but it doesn't make too much sense for those who are following Palestine. Palestine is bigger than Hamas, bigger than Fatah. On the issues like occupation, you would see that all those rival parties are on the exactly same page and they are against the occupation. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ulutaş. Then I will give the floor to Mr. Eren, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I have 2 points. One, to clarify, my topic is mentioned here is OIC support for East Jerusalem. OIC has many activities on summit level, Council of Foreign Ministers level, General Secretariat. I only try to clarify or give information about our own cultural institutions, cultural activities. His Excellency the Assistant Secretary General in the opening session yesterday has given many information about the other activities, supports of General Secretariat, IDB, and the OIC as an humanitarian wing. Also, they support, they send aid to Palestine. The second point I want to make it clear, as His Excellency Riyad Mansour mentioned, we have launched a new project from the Ottoman archives and started to prepare a publication on the land and real estate registers. Inshallah, it will take time, but when we complete it, you will see what was the situation at the end of the 19th century and early 20th century in all cities and all Palestine. Inshallah, when we publish it, it will be a good reference work for scholars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eren. Then Roberto, please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. I will not speak about the elephant in the room, I think. I think permanent representative Riyad Mansour has been very clear, and is extremely important to read the message that there is a clear message for a call for dialogue, sustained engagement of a constructive type. And I think that I've been working in not in a protracted crisis like or conflict like the one, occupation like the one we are experiencing in Palestine, Israel, but I've been working in other contexts, and I must say that the whole issue about political dialogue, opening up space for articulating, responses that essentially can make people's lives more bearable. I mean, that is important. And ASG Miroslav Jenka yesterday was very clear about the necessity to fast track that type of dialogue and peace negotiations, for the benefit of both Palestinians and Israelis. I mean, by the end of the day, I think we are all, as international community in Palestine and in Israel, with this aim in mind. So, thank you.
I thank you. Is there further questions or comments? Doesn't seems to be the case. Then I really appreciate the speakers for their very insightful presentations and all the information that they have provided to us. Just using the there is somebody there. I'm so sorry that I didn't see you. That young lady, please, you have the floor. I'm so sorry, I didn't see you.
Bonjour, je me présente Sarah Boukri, je suis docteur en sciences politiques. Alors, j'ai longtemps réfléchi avant de faire mon intervention, mais bon, tant pis, je la fais. J'ai envie d'intervenir non pas comme une spécialiste en sciences politiques, ni comme une intellectuelle intéressée par la question palestinienne, mais comme une citoyenne arabe, marocaine, une citoyenne qui, depuis son enfance, grandit avec les images de la souffrance des enfants palestiniens et qui se demande tout simplement pourquoi. J'ai envie d'envoyer un message du cœur vers tous les cœurs qui sont présents aujourd'hui. J'ai envie de dire qu'il y en a assez de voir cette souffrance. J'ai envie de crier haut et fort mon désarroi face à cette situation. Nous sommes face à une des plus grandes injustices de notre temps. Les plus grands de ce monde ont le devoir que leur dicte justement leur grandeur, de mettre fin à cette injustice. Je m'adresse à tous ceux qui soutiennent les politiques sionistes. Ouvrez les yeux, réveillez votre humanité et rendez justice à un peuple qui crie sa souffrance et qui n'en peut plus. Merci.
Thank you very much. I think you made the conclusions of this panel, but I just would like to add, talking about elephants, just to reiterate that the real elephants in face of us is the occupation, the abhorrent occupation. But we are many, millions of ants, very persistent and laborious ants, that we will continue working for our objective and pursuit to achieve our objective, which is at the end only one: to have a comprehensive, just, and lasting settlement of the conflict and on the basis of the two-state solutions, and particularly, fundamentally, to realize the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and to have an independent and sovereign states with its capital in East Jerusalem. We have been talking about international law. That is what international law that we have collectively decided has accepted and decided. And then with that, with those words and with the very valuable comments presented by the last speaker, the young lady, we will finish this panel, thanking again our excellent speakers that we have had this afternoon and during these 2 days of the conference. I think we have had a very valuable discussions that encourage us to continue fighting and working and pursuit to achieve our objective, which is the independence of the Palestinian people. Thank you very much for participating here in this afternoon. Then we will have now a recess, break time. We will be I think we can come back in 15 minutes at 5. 5 p.m. will be okay? 5:15, the Secretariat said. Okay, 5:15, we come back to the room for the closing session of the conference. Thank you very much.